In other words, every 2 hours, our government is now borrowing and adding to our debt as much inflation-adjusted money as we paid for 2/3 of the United States west of the Mississippi. And they tell us we're not in trouble.
How far back in U.S. history can we trace real inflation?
We can trace inflation back to the beginning in U.S. history to paper money the Continental Congress put out that came to be called not worth a continental, in part because they printed it willy-nilly, in part because they didn't understand modern economic theory, but also in part because the British were trying to defeat us by counterfeiting vast amounts of our own revolutionary currency. So the British very cleverly tried to make our currency worthless. The funny thing is now it's our own government that is making our currency worthless by, in effect, counterfeiting it. That's what you do when you print money that is not backed up by any new productivity or any new things to buy. And yet in America today, we have twice as many people working for government as we have working in all of manufacturing combined. As you point out in your book, Trickle Up Poverty, those government workers in the federal government are making about twice as much as workers in the private sector, and yet they are the ones Barack Obama was protecting with nearly $5 trillion in government stimulus. The problem is now even the chief economist for the Federal Reserve Bank in St. Louis, Yi Wen, just analyzed the stimulus and found not only didn't it work to create jobs, it actually retarded the creation of jobs because it so frightened business people who saw the tsunami, as you and we both call it, of inflation about to engulf the country, that they stopped investing and they stopped hiring new people. So the whole inflation, with all the cost it's added to our children and grandchildren, actually did more harm than good.
So what's the most shocking thing you came across when researching and writing the book?
I think the most shocking thing I encountered was the head of the New York Federal Reserve just after World War II in a little-noted speech that we document and tell people how they can retrieve in the inflation deception. In a speech, he said, you know, we in the government, we don't even need to tax people anymore. We can run the entire government just by printing money. Inflation, of course, is an insidious tax. It's part of the reason why, under our welfare state, 47% of the people in this country now pay no income tax. Oh, they pay the tax in the form of higher prices, but they don't notice that, of course. So the effect is 47% of the population believes the government is just a big dispenser of free goodies that they don't have to pay for. And by the way, a recent Gallup poll also showed exactly 47% of the population believe we should have more income redistribution in the country. When you have a country that determined to deny capitalism, deny private property, you're going to have inflation running the other way. This is not a terribly bright future for the country, and the moral of it is we need to take steps, including some of those that you propose in Trickle Up Poverty. We need to go to a balanced budget amendment. We need a flat tax. We need other government changes. But at the end of the day, it's like the little red hen. You're ultimately going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to create your own gold standard. You're going to have to shift this phony government paper money that we rely on, that they can destroy overnight and are about to, into something that is tangible, that they can't print, they can't destroy, they can't create, something, like gold or silver, or antiques, or other things. But for God's sake, get out of paper money. It's like holding your life savings in the stock of a company on the verge of bankruptcy.
You said you've read my book, Trickle Up Poverty. What do you think of it?
We think people should read both your book, Trickle Up Poverty, and our new book, The Inflation Deception. And so we join you. We would like to help people. You know, in honor of you and our recent celebration of America's birthday, Michael, we would like to give away 5,000 copies to your millions of listeners. Call us, leave your name, phone number. We'll get back to you, get your address, and send a copy out to you. My co-author, you know Craig R. Smith very well. He had retired. He wanted to just live a life of leisure and comfort and prayer and working on his own spiritual growth. And then he looked around and said, you know, this country is going to hell in a handbasket for my children and grandchildren. I simply can't let this happen. I'm going to have to come back and devote my life to educating people, much as you do, Michael. We are trying to awaken people, to show them there is an alternative, to help them find a way out of the kind of doomsday situation the government has now created for all of us. So, the number to get the free book, 800-630-1494. For the first 5,000 people who call, don't worry about whatever time it is or what station you're listening on. We would like to get these books out as far and wide as possible to educate people. 800-630-1494. Leave your name, leave your number, and we will get back to you, and you will get a remarkable book. We have a government that's trying to turn us into Europe, that is trying to turn us into the very land most of our ancestors fled to get away from. The frontiers are being chained and padlocked. Opportunity is being crushed. Taxes are oppressing people. Government regulation is strangling opportunity and business in this country, and this has to be stopped. So we are honored to join hands with you, Michael, in trying to awaken people and to fight the kind of thing that's being done to destroy our country and find ways to reverse it.
Lowell Ponte, thank you for joining us on the Savage Nation.
My pleasure.
I'm Michael Savage. We'll be right back. Savage.